friend of mine recently took a group of students and young people on a theological and faith journey around Berlin. They decided to catch the train. A route was set, timetables were examined, and a journey plan was formed. With excitement, they set off, dragging their luggage behind them. After a bit of delay in Britain, they eventually made it onto the Eurostar. But it didn't take long for their journey to turn into a series of stationary trains, missed connections, and incidents up ahead, meaning that they didn't arrive at their hotel until the early hours. You'd think that a disrupted train journey across Europe was just a bit of bad luck. After all, the train services abroad are better than in our own country, surely. That was until the return, which became a farcical comedy of delayed trains, rail replacement buses being randomly dropped off in Liège, and the complexity of finding space on the Eurostar in the height of the summer holidays. When she eventually arrived back and recovered from her lack of sleep, I asked my friend why they didn't just fly out to Germany. As she laughed and joked, Greta Thunberg's name was not used in a sentence that I could repeat. When we start taking seriously the call to care for God's creation, it's inconvenient, time-consuming, and requires planning as we shift from our received, normal way of doing things to think differently about the way in which we walk upon the earth. Our eyes have been opened up to the reality of our impact on the environment by people such as Greta, who are angry that their future has been stolen from them. I don't think I'm alone in my climate-related fear. Among the younger generations, there's a sense of loss and grief as the sands of possibility has shifted from under them. We live in an age of change, borne about by the way that we've used the resources of the world, which is already having a significant consequence in many areas of our world, as sea levels rise, threatening Pacific Island nations, to the increasing temperatures causing drought, famine, and wildfires in many nations. When God created the world, he looked upon it and said that it was good. He then placed this world into our care. Yet the modern-day cycle of consumerism traps us in a kind of corporate sin, where the systems and structures of society leaves us with a sense of helplessness, that we can't make a difference to the climate crisis. So often, what I buy as a cheap price is at the expense of the exploitation of others or of the earth. And to step out of this framework requires one of two things: money or time. To have the most ecological car means buying a vehicle at a higher price than a second-hand petrol car. To be someone who buys products which are produced in a way that cares for our world involves having the time and energy to shop around. To be someone who diligently recycles takes time and effort to carefully sort out our waste. It can all be too much. But what about seeing it more like a cake? Instead of trying to eat the whole thing, maybe caring for God's creation needs to happen one bite at a time, as we all do our own bit in creating a great collective impact. The Church in Wales governing body has set us the target of becoming net zero by 2030, and this can feel like a challenge beyond our capability. After all, it's only a little over 7 years away. But doing nothing is not an option, especially when we consider the climate impact on other nations. And therefore we need to start now the journey of making those gradual, manageable steps towards this goal in our church communities. If you're a small church whose building is used less frequently, it's actually surprisingly easy for you to start to reach net zero, especially if your heating is already electric powered. In fact, you might already be there. On the Church in Wales website, you will find 2 documents to help guide your decision making. The first is We're on our way to net zero carbon, which sets out the challenge ahead as we demonstrate our concern for the planet and our sensitivity for those who are acutely vulnerable by climate change. It provides an action plan and suggests an energy audit of our buildings. The second document is one called A Practical Path to Net Zero, which offers tailored advice for churches. As individuals, we might not make a massive impact in the face of inaction from many corporations and countries, but collectively, we can demonstrate our faith through the simple steps we can take in consciously thinking about the impact that we have on our world.